your beliefs are actually what caused the quantum jump, which is why the identity shift is required for you to quantum jump, which is why you are being tested and put into painful positions, and you're having mirrors stuck an inch from your nose. You're getting things that are so shocking for you to have a wake-up call, especially if you're stubborn like me, because you cannot get to your next level of this insane quantum jump without you changing. Okay, real talk. How many times have you tried to change your life and then ended up right back where you started? You set the intentions, you did the vision boards, maybe you even bought a fucking program. And then just 3 weeks later, you're scrolling Instagram at 2 a.m., wondering why nothing ever sticks, why you feel so far behind, why you're not where so and so is. Well, here's the deal. You can't quantum jump into a new reality when your nervous system is still running the old programming. You can't become him or her when your subconscious beliefs are still screaming that you are this. Welcome to part A of the Firehorse Quantum Jump series. We are going to get into this internal shiz deeply, the mindset reprogramming, the nervous system recalibration, the belief systems that are low-key keeping you stuck. No fluff, no toxic positivity, just the real science and spirituality of actually becoming your next level self and stepping into that new identity. This is the year of the Firehorse. We're just days away, and maybe we're already here depending on when you're listening to this. Wild, untamed, unapologetic energy that only comes around once every 60 years. So if you're listening to this right now, it's not an accident. You're being called, really, to burn down who you've been and quantum leap into you actually are. Let's fucking go. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. Depending on when you're listening to this, we are just days away from entering the year of the Firehorse. And I need to start by saying this. I don't want any of you to set up an expectation, just like we can set up around a significant birthday or even around a new year, that all of a sudden, now the year of the snake is over and the sky is supposed to part and everything is supposed to be perfect and everything's going to fall into place. That is an ego trap. That is your ego setting you up with an expectation in order to get you to slam back into your old identity, which is why I'm doing this special part A and part B series for you on the internal and external of quantum jumping. So, first order of business is I need you to release that. That doesn't mean you can't have hopes. That doesn't mean you can't look forward to it. That doesn't mean you can't soak in all the abundant energy around it and step forward into it. But when you attach an expectation to it, it's going to be this. It has to be this. This is how it's going to look. This is how it's going to be. Well, that's the opposite of surrender. That's the opposite of trusting in the divine. And what can happen for you if you have a tendency to do that, and I used to be one of those people, so I know, and I've coached a lot of people who have that same tendency, like even for business launch, right? It needs to be this. It's going to be this. This is how it's going to look. I could even do it around vacations, right? Well, the weather better be good. Well, we don't have control over that. It's going to be what it's going to be. So I need you to get in that energy. It's going to be what it's going to be. I trust that there's going to be a lot of good and I'm setting myself up for it. But just because something frustrating happens, just because you get disappointing news, just because something doesn't work out or you get an unexpected bill is not saying, oh, well, this is going to be another shitty year. That is your ego again, trying to set you up for a trap. Because then if you do that, and anytime something bad happens, you're like, confirmation bias. This year of the horse is bullshit. This quantum jumping stuff Tiff is talking about is bullshit. All of it's shit. And then you're going to keep stacking the evidence that it's shit. And then you're going to behave out of your belief system. And then you're going to create shit. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there's my ranty warning for you. All right. And I am announcing this is the first podcast that I believe you're hearing about this, unless I said it when I was not fully mentally present, which is entirely possible with me. My once a year annual online event, 3 days to make bank online, is going to be coming up on March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. There are free tickets, and then you can also upgrade and get the VIP, which is only $177, where you get an additional fourth day, you get 10-day access to the replay. I would make that move if I were you, if you're dead ass about being able to learn income generating skills online. So, this is not some sales fest. Those of you who've not been to it before, I do it once a year as a way to build my community and bring in new people, but while also nurturing and supporting my existing people. I'm not someone who goes live almost ever. So it's a special event that I do. And you can register for free at projectmewithtiffany.com/make bank. I've also put that direct link inside the show notes here on Apple, on Spotify. You can swipe up and get it. And on YouTube, it's right in the description, which is Project Me TV. And what is so great about this year is that I'm hosting it live on a private YouTube page. How exciting. So you get to see the comments in real time. It's a different, exciting energy. So I look forward to you being there. And again, it's only once a year. So make sure you register, share it with your people, and all the information and the details are on the page. Like, what are you going to be teaching us? Bibbity bobbity boo. I'm not going to waste your time here. You can go look at all of that and get in there. Okay. The other thing is that my Make More Work Less Abundance sale is going to be coming to an end. And this is my transformation money course. Okay. It is where in 7 days or less, you are going to shift your money story. And this is the perfect time of year and the perfect year to be doing this program. There's hundreds and hundreds of testimonials of people who've gone through it. And as long as you are someone who is open and willing to do things in an unconventional way, not the same basic shit you've heard over and over again, and you can just be willing to trust the process, this will without a doubt do something for you. And you might have to take it a couple times. You might have to take it every single year, every single quarter, just because we have so much stuff that we get piled on and that we absorb just going about in the world. And that's why I've given you not only immediate access, but lifetime access. So that link is also in the show notes in the description here on YouTube, but it's projectmewithtiffany.com/special offer. 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day on average is what we have. And my fellow crazies, my fellow overthinkers, you know, our asses are like well over 100,000. And 95% of them are repetitive. This is according to the National Science Foundation. 95%. Isn't that insane? So your neural pathways are your current identity. What you are thinking over and over and over again is who you are, even if they're not true. And the things that are true, because that's what you believe to be true. And then you keep compounding it and affirming it and affirming it and affirming it, literally tens and 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 tens of thousands a day. But here's what's also great. Your brain can rewire in 4 days with consistent new thought patterns. And this is from Harvard Medical School. You know, I always serve the facts and stats here, okay? Because I know what your brains do. How does Tiffany know that? I mean, I know that she's been doing what she does for a long time and has coached and mentored a ton of people, but how does she know? Well, I know from my own, so to speak, clinical data in terms of all the people I've worked with all over the world and my own stuff. But this is backed up by actual credible studies. And so your ego can't really argue that, huh? Isn't it funny how our egos fight us? They want us to not believe something that actually is helpful, that would actually change our lives, that would actually transform us in a way that, you know, doesn't feel as hard or as scary, because it wants us to believe it's hard and scary and sacrificing and awful, because then we won't take any action and then we'll stay the same, which is what the ego wants, because same is familiar, same is safe. Change is scary, change is dangerous. So that's why with my Make More Work Less program, why I can say 7 days or less. and why people have had that experience over and over again in that program, because it comes with its videos, and there's also guided meditations, experiences, and there's a 67 page, I call it an adult activity book, that goes with it. Because when then you pair writing it, reading it, taking it in audio wise, taking it in video wise, that really can speed up that brain rewiring. And we want to keep feeding, and more you feed it, the faster it's going to change, and then the more it's going to cement in. So your brain can't tell real from vividly imagined experiences, which is so cool. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this all the time and has lots of proof to back that up. And I'm a big believer in doing this work along with the concrete business strategy, the money making activities and skills that I teach you. I could teach you all those skills. I could teach you how to be a master at sales. I can even do all your stuff for you. But if you have a brain with all those compounded thoughts of tens and tens of thousands of thoughts, millions of thoughts a week, and they're all working against you, no wonder why things feel heavy. No wonder why things feel hard. No wonder why you're taking 3 steps ahead and going 5 steps back and doing the identity shift cha-cha. Okay? We don't need to be doing that anymore. And it's so easy to default to these old patterns if you're not on the offense of this, if you're not actively getting ahead of it, because your brain is designed, its default is going to keep you stuck. So if you're not doing anything daily to be ahead of it, it's a setup. So to think that you can kind of be mentally lazy and not do anything and then but end up becoming mentally fit, that would be as insane as you thinking that's going to work with your physical body. 80% of resolutions fail. And I would add intentions in there. So the willpower, the nervous system stuff that goes with it. The reason why these fail when people set these things, and it doesn't just have to be in a new year, like I said in the intro, it can happen around a birthday. It can happen around the whole transferring from Year of Snake to Year of the Firehorse. Your nervous system wants to block change to keep you safe. So if your nervous system doesn't feel safe, it's not going to allow the change to happen. And then it's like, well, how do I make my nervous system safe? I don't pretend to be a nervous system expert. Okay. I'm an expert in making you guys money and money mindset stuff. I'm only speaking from my experience as someone who's had to do a lot of work on myself and hire top experts, as someone who has complex PTSD. Because when you have trauma on top of it, we got a whole nother layer going on. So if shit works for me, I've never seen it not work for somebody else, because I can be extremely resistant to change because I like familiar. I like certainty. That makes me feel safe. When I say in the opening of my podcast episodes, like, I'm not wired like your typical entrepreneur. This is facts, okay? It's not just me being cutesy. I am cuckoo. All right. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I have to get ahead of. And I am willing to do that because look at what the results are. And then I've also experienced the results of not doing it. And let me tell you, that was 2025, and we're not repeating that shit again. So your vagus nerve sends 80% signals from your body to your brain. Okay. So 80% of emotional regulation starts in the body. I really want you to like let that sink in. 80% of emotional regulation starts in the body. So to believe that you can outthink, out mindset work your way to getting somewhere, it's not going to happen. That's why meditation for a lot of people is so successful. For me, I like doing guided meditations, which is why I take you guys through it. But I also like movement and meditation so that you can get into your body, so that you can release. That's why my abundance walks, my walk into wealth series, all of that stuff, because you are allowing your body to have fear move through you and out of you. It's not because the other ways don't work. You can certainly try those too, but this is what works the fastest for me. And it can happen in under 3 minutes a day. This doesn't mean you need to have like a 72-step morning routine. In fact, if you think you have to have that, your ego is trying to get you to believe that. Your ego's trying to get you to believe, well, you can't do it because you're so busy and you have kids, or you have a full-time job and you're starting a business, or you have two companies. And so you don't have the energy to do this. And you're not, someone who's 20 years old living in mom's basement. So you're not able to, it's just trying to get you to not do the thing that's going to get you to where you want to go. You've got to really check that crazy mind of yours. You can't think your way into a new nervous system state. That is why, as much as I'm a proponent of therapy. I've been in therapy for a million years. I have an amazing therapist that I work with every single week. Okay. I think that is one of the tools in the toolkit. But you have got to do the body stuff in order for any of the cognitive work, meaning the brain work, to really sink in. And I don't know any ethical psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist who isn't like nodding their head. And I know a lot of you motherfuckers listen to the show because you're crazy, because you have to be crazy a little bit to, or a lot of it, to get into that profession. I mean, imagine, I don't know how you guys do it, man. And I hold a lot of space. I only take 4 private clients at a time, and there's a reason. I can hold a lot of energetic space because I do a lot of work, but I think of my mental health professionals and how many clients you see in a day, and how much you're absorbing. And even if you do all sorts of things to like move that energy through you, ooh, that is a lot. So here's some suggestions, okay? And you need to try different things that work. One of the things that works incredibly well for me is moving my body, but not forcing the movement, if that makes sense. Sometimes I have to make myself move my body. I have to make myself exercise. I never want to. What I mean by forcing movement is what I used to do when I had a exercise addiction. Like, you have to go run sprints today. You have to go lift. It's like, no, you just have to move your body and ask your body what it needs, and it feels nurturing. I love taking Epsom salt, baking soda, essential oil baths, right? That is something that really helps calm my body. And when your body is calm, your brain it calms down. Why do you think when we're in the shower, or we're on a vacation, or we're relaxing, we get the most creative ideas for so many different things? Or even out with friends laughing, and then you come up with like a business idea. It's because you're in a more relaxed state. Laughter, that's why I say, you're a trauma survivor. You better find a way to laugh at stuff. I'd say the same thing about being an entrepreneur, whether you're starting from scratch or you're many years in. You have to get to a point of laughing at it, because that discharges. It takes the edge off the nervous system, which is what I would say for you to focus on. We need to take that initial edge off of it. And there's a lot coming at us. There's a lot of negativity, a lot of propaganda, a lot of shit, that we can easily absorb from other people, from media sources, from social media. You need to set higher boundaries around this stuff. Even if it's interesting to you, my true crime junkies. Okay, I get you love that shit. I don't like it. My nervous system doesn't like it. I my entire childhood is truly a true crime story, and I've been approached for the movie rights to that story now 3 times. And if you want to hear my story, and it's done in a way that isn't sensationalized, but it also could be triggering. So I don't want you to continue listening to it if you feel that it activates your nervous system. But it's at projectmewithtiffany.com/book. And you can also access it at the link in my bio on Instagram and TikTok at Project Me with Tiffany. Okay. And why I'm even going there is taking that edge off and being able to laugh, being able to pattern interrupt, being able to have different tools in your toolkit, because some of those tools won't work on some days, and some days they will, and some days it's a combination. Some days it feels like nothing works. And so you need to be able to have higher filters. Where I was going with the true crime thing is, okay, you can still watch your true crime, but let's have some boundaries. Perhaps not after a certain time in the evening. If there's an activating show that I really want to watch, I have like a cutoff. It's like 7:30 is my cutoff. Otherwise, I sleep like shit. Okay. If you have a particularly high stress week, like I'm prepping for my 3 days to make bank once a year live training, like 10,000 people signed up last year. And there's a lot that goes in it, into the sense of like the planning, the production. We're doing it on a new thing, it being on a private YouTube live. I have two tiers. I have a free tier and I have a VIP tier, and then all of the content and talking about it and the ads. So this period of my launch just has a lot more moving parts, which activates my nervous system. Okay. Like, how could it not? And so, why would I pile on stuff when my nervous system is already activated? Why would I add to it with aggressive music, which Bish can like some aggressive music, okay? Like my 90s people, I hung out with Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails, okay? Like I like some I like some aggressive shit. But that's not a good idea. I mean, I'm literally blasting right now to Pilates. I need to record it for Instagram stories. If you guys are more people who like follow me on TikTok or even on YouTube, you've got to go look at my Instagram stories. I'm telling you, it's a reality show. And I'm blasting like Jesus Saves on the way to Pilates, like whatever it takes, okay? Like calming music, music that like uplifts you. Maybe you need to go back to like, you need to try a different decade, whether you were alive in that decade or not. Some people I know like do Broadway musical type playlists in their car. You have to take the actions and set yourself up for it, not just like leave it to chance. You leave it to chance, there ain't going to be no change, baby. Okay? Because you end up self sabotaging, and I'll even say innocently. Most of the time, it is innocent because it's subconscious, but it can't be subconscious completely now since you're listening to this, which is also why you were drawn to this episode. There's a window of tolerance. Change feels like a threat. Your body interprets this new identity as danger. And so a regulation practice is needed, because if you're in this danger, you put up the resistance. You get into analysis paralysis, procrastination, overthinking, overanalyzing, the what if, worst case catastrophizing scenarios. For me, I can go into overgiving, overdoing, anything that's in excess. You're in a fear state response, even if it's something that seemingly looks good. Doing more exercise, more activities, more things, more tasks, helping more people, more. That can be tricky. Okay. Which it looks like, you're doing a good thing here. You're so abundant. What a generous person. But where is it rooted out of? Is it rooted out of self protection? Is it rooted out of trying to control? Is it rooted out of distracting yourself because you don't want to feel your feelings? Yes, all of the above. So your beliefs are repeated thoughts that became facts. And I know a lot of you know this, but this basic stuff you need to hear and be reminded of. So do I. Beliefs control your gene expression. This is an actual study by Bruce Lipton. I mean, and your how your genes express, that's crazy. So this is where like the placebo effect comes in, and Harvard has done a lot of meta analysis data on this. 35 to 40% improvement from one belief alone. Meaning, and those of my medical practitioners who listen to the show, there's a lot of you, because my other company is a digital marketing and branding agency, specifically in the health, pharma, medical supplement field, because my corporate career was all in that. And it's a unique field because there's a lot of regulations, yabba, 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 yabba. So I'm very highly trained on this, but we all know I'm not a medical professional. Okay. Although I would love to be, I would love to be Dr. Carter. I mean, sometimes I play one upon request. Okay. So when you go look at a drug and the US markets, it's which is random, it's US and New Zealand are allowed to market actual pharmaceutical drugs in how we do. You're not going to see pharma ad commercials in Italy, okay? It's that we won't even, I don't need to go down the whole point, but I need to explain it cuz we're in something insane like we're top 5 in 57 countries, but we're in like 90 countries now. So I just want to make sure it's clear on where I'm going with this. So let's give an example of a depression medication. Okay. We'll use the medication that I'm on because why not? Let's give Wellbutrin a shout out that allows me to continue to function and keep myself from going down a hole where I might not be here anymore. I've been on Wellbutrin a long time. Okay. So there is lots of studies in order for a drug to come to market. And when they do these drug studies, they will a lot of times do it's like double blind placebo where some people get the placebo where there's no active ingredient and then some get the active. But they each know what they're taking. And you will even see in the package inserts the details in the studies, and you guys can geek out and go look this stuff up. It'll tell you this worked on blah, 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 blah. This worked on 60% of the people. 17% had this side effect, 12% had this. And then you'll even see, and 13% of placebo patients reported feeling happier, more energized, had less intrusive thoughts, and they never got the medication. And this can work with even over the counter meds like Tylenol. Like if you gave me a placebo Tylenol and I felt like I had a headache, I would likely say, I bet the headache might not be completely gone, or it could be. So my point in going off on that is you can absolutely mind fuck your way to the beliefs that are going to set you up for the behaviors that will get you to the quantum leap. The catch is you've got to do it. Because what happens is your observations will change, meaning what you are now seeing out in the world, your internal algorithm changes based on what you're believing. And when you start observing different things, it changes the outcomes on things. If you believe everyone's out to get you, you'll attract a lot of people out to get you. If you believe you're not going to make any sales and no one's going to sign up your thing for your launch, and you believe that, that's going to be true. You're going to attract that for that reason. It's not because it's some like mystical, magical thing. The science behind it is, right? You are seeing it repeatedly. Then you're thinking it with the millions of thoughts that you have a week. It's cemented in there. That changes your perception of things. That changes the actions you choose to take and don't take. If I don't think something's going to work, well, am I going to show up regardless for it? Fuck no. If I think something's going to be miserable and self-sacrificing, am I going to show up for it unless there's like a giant consequence? No. That's why when I work with my private clients, when you're in any of my programs, I always say this about making money online, monetizing your gifts, skills, passions, and talents. There's stuff that we know works, there's stuff that we know doesn't work, and there's this whole gray area in between. And some of you get to a point where you need that customized of what works for you. Because if it doesn't feel good to you and your ideal client, you're not going to keep doing it, and therefore it's not going to work, and then you're going to end up back where you started. So your beliefs collapse quantum possibilities into reality. Your beliefs are actually what caused the quantum jump, which is why the identity shift is required for you to quantum jump, which is why you are being tested and put into painful positions and you're having mirrors stuck an inch from your nose. You're getting things that are so shocking for you to have a wake up call, especially if you're stubborn like me, because you cannot get to your next level of this insane quantum jump without you changing. The Firehorse is permission to observe yourself differently. By age 35, 95% of you are in memorized patterns, according to Dr. Joe Dispenza. And that's interesting, right? It makes sense when I look back on how I was, and some of you listening are right in that zone right now, and some of you are before the zone, some of you are way past that. But if you take a look at your life, it's like I could see that. I had the patterns in the love relationship area of my life, like all the good guys are taken, dating sucks. I was on that whole bandwagon. Okay, so what do you think? How do you think that was working for me? I attracted toxic person after toxic person after toxic person, which just confirmed my beliefs, which were bred out of my thoughts. And it was like, see. Okay. Where people I knew that found amazing partners, they didn't have that story. They had a story. They might have had, like, yeah, there's a lot of shit out there, but they would say things like, but I know the right person is there for me and I'm willing to wait for it. I know I'll find like my right match. Well, that wasn't part of my language. And I was resistant to changing it. And that's what's so wild. Notice if you're having resistance changing your thoughts about whatever it is, money, growing your business, any area of your life. I openly shared in that body episode, I had it around my body. Why would we be resistant to doing something that is proven? Look at all the studies I've given you here, okay? Along with clinical data that is proven to work, that will better your life. And there actually is no downside to it. There literally is no downside to doing it. And it's fucking free to do if you do it on your own. It's not as fast to do it on your own versus having that level of accountability and guided direction. I would at the very least say you need to do the Make More Work Less program. Okay. I mean, that's self-paced, but I would say that's a beautiful no-brainer starting point. And then you can combine it by coming into my posse membership, which is projectmewithtiffany.com/projectme posse. We do have some new member spots open. If you go to the page and it says membership is full, you're going to have to check back. And that would be a beautiful pairing so that you are at least positioning yourself for success and it's not solely on being self-reliant, because that's really hard to make major shifts. The changes you're being called to make for this quantum jump, to do it on your own, that's also a very clever manipulative setup of your ego. Here's an interesting stat. The University College of London says that 66 days on average to form a new belief. Interesting number, isn't it? 66. How specific is that? And I know we've heard like you can change a habit in 30 days. And I would even go further to say it might take more than 66 days to like lock in a new belief. If it's around something you've been highly resistant around, you have trauma around, you have generational trauma around it, and that's doing it on your own accord. And I'm not saying that to deter you from doing it. I'm saying it like, don't set yourself up and go, well, I want to change my beliefs around these 10 things. Can you at least start with one fucking thing, please? I would really appreciate that. It's repetition plus emotion plus, I'm cringing a little when I say embodiment, because I hear so many like Sarah the spiritual influencers saying embodiment, but embodiment meaning nervous system, feeling it in your body. It's not enough to believe it in your mind. Your mind and body have to work together. You've got to also feel it in your system. Okay. So let's take a look at things when when it comes to having a growth mindset, what is the payoff? Why do we need to do this thing? Well, you're like, I know it's better for me. But do you know when you make a point of shifting into the type of person who has a growth mindset, who shows up and plans the work and works the plan and takes the actions and invests in it and does the thing, you have a proven 30% higher achievement. Once again, why would you not do it? You just stacked the odds heavily in your favor of success at least a 30% higher achievement. Why wouldn't you do it? It makes no sense. We have something called the reticular activating system, RAS. This was so interesting in researching this episode. Our brain filters 99% of sensory info, and it shows what matches your beliefs. So this reticular activating system is what I keep referring to as your internal algorithm, and it's highly sensitive. It is proven science that it is going to keep showing you a match for your belief. And so this whole RAS thing, you may have heard that like red car example. I really want a red car. I love red cars. Let's talk about red cars. And suddenly you see red cars everywhere. So you reprogram this RAS. This is your quantum jump filter. Okay. And you can do this, but it does take some discipline to do it. But why, again, why wouldn't you do it? And I keep coming back to that because you might need to talk to a therapist about it. You might need to, if you're one of my clients, work with me on it. You might need to write about it, talk to a trusted friend about it, because it doesn't make sense that your true self, not your false self, not your ego self, but your true self, why wouldn't you do something every single day that's only going to pay off for you and have you be more abundant and happier and richer and more fulfilled in life? It doesn't make any sense unless you're getting a payoff for staying where you're at. And there's some part of you that wants to stay where you're at. This is what I mean by it takes a lot of humility to go through a quantum jump, to go through an identity shift. This is where the term you hear ego death. Okay. There's got to be a layer of that ego that dies, and it usually dies from extreme humility, and you get into humble on your knees stuff in order for you to get out of your own way. Identity-based change is 3 times more effective than goal-based change. Shifting from I want to I'm the type of person who blank. I'm the type of person who follows through. I'm the type of person who gets what I want in life. I'm the type of person who shows up regardless. Period. End of story. That's who I am. And I want you to choose one new identity-based thought. Just one. You don't have to do 500. What is one new identity-based thought that matches where you want to go? And then I want you to identify one limiting belief you need to release. This isn't going to work for me. This isn't going to work for me. This isn't going to work for me, right? It's whatever one of the main ones that keeps coming up over and over again. You're making a conscious choice to choose to release that limiting belief, and you're making a conscious choice to choose one that is a new identity based thought. So it can sound like, I now give myself permission to get highly paid doing what I love. I now give myself permission to receive on a higher level in my business where I make more and work less. So it doesn't need to be something that feels where you're forcing it, where you're saying, I'm a millionaire and you're not, or I work 1 hour a day and that's just bullshit, right? That's not going to work for your system. But how about you start with giving yourself permission? Or you can even say, I'm now stepping into my new identity where I get to make more and work less, doing what I love and helping the people. One of mine is that my launches, which typically I only offer my signature program, Selling with Soul. It's only offered once a year. This 3 days to make bake live, free live event, that's only once a year. The old me put a lot of pressure on that because it's once a year. And then I got Virgo-y and all of my other, all my other gunk got in there. I had an identity shift around this, which is also why I know I'm quantum jumping. It gets to feel fun. It gets to feel light. It gets to be an enjoyable experience for me to launch my offers and help the people. Now, does this mean that the second something comes up, which by the way, it has all fucking last week, which is really fun, I have ads that are out there like letting people know they just started. So let me know if you're seeing them. And please let me know if you're seeing them and they're fucked up in any way. I've never seen this in all of my years of doing Facebook ads, and I've been doing Facebook ads since they fucking came out. Okay. My ads, and I saw them on my own feed, were like a bad dubbed foreign film where my words coming out of my mouth were not matching the audio. But other people's ads were. It was crazy. But if you look in like the preview, all the ones I approved, they're totally fine. So it's something weird thing on the Facebook side of it. And I could have easily spiraled back and said, look, confirmation bias. Look, maybe I shouldn't do my launch. Maybe I shouldn't do this thing. This isn't working. Look, it's already stressful. And did my nervous system and my brain default back there? Yes, because this is a new belief I'm working with. Okay. So it did default back there. So don't be shocked if that happens. And I'm doing the daily work on it. It also happens for you to strengthen your new belief. And I immediately caught myself and went, no, we started the ads extra early this year. It's still plenty early for the ads. Very bizarre that that happened. And the reality is I am not dependent on ads for all of my people to show up for a training that's valued at $25,000 where I actually teach them the sauce and I don't circle talk them. And there's been tens of thousands of people who have come where there's testimonials and all these things. I'm not dependent on these ads. And to think that there aren't going to be blips and roadblocks and things that happen when you're going after things, well, that's really unreasonable. That's just not how life works. And that's not an indicator of it not working. So I had to go, how am I reacting? And that's what we're going to talk about in part two. Part two is the external. We were just focusing on the internal here. Now we move to how we respond, how we react, what actions we take, what actions we don't take, and how to set that up so we quantum leap in those external factors. So let me know if you enjoyed the part A of this experience. Take a screenshot, share it on social media, and tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Please subscribe over on YouTube at ProjectME TV. All of the sign up information, the resources are all inside the show notes. You can swipe up to get it. There's more things that are offered in the show notes on here than are in like my link in bio on social. So don't just be dependent on that. A lot of times I give either early access or special access to my podcast listeners because you mofos deserve it. Okay. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. See you for part B.